agenda will cut down. Everybody wants to try to grab these things.
Okay, I apologize for getting started late here. We'll try to catch back up and let's see if we can adjourn by 5. Welcome to the Asheville Buncombe Air Quality Agency Board of Directors meeting for November 8th, 2023. And before we get started, the first agenda item, we take public comment at the end of the meeting. I'll read the public comment protocol announcement. Public comment will be taken at the end of each board meeting. Persons wanting to address the board should sign up on the sheet provided, which is over there on that podium over there, I believe. Oh, it's right over there on the table. I'm trying. Speakers will be called in the order they are signed up. Comments should be limited to specific topics relevant to the board. At the board's discretion, limited comment may be allowed on individual agenda items during the course of the meeting as invited by the chair. And finally, all board meetings shall be recorded, including public comment periods. So with that said, item 2 would be the adjustment and approval of the agenda that you have before us. I'll entertain a motion to either amend that agenda or approve it.
Move to approve is presented.
Second.
Moved by Carl, second by Ned. Any further discussion or comment? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, we got an agenda. The consent agenda for this meeting would be approval of the minutes from our most previous meeting, which happened on September 28th, 2023. They're in your packet. If you've had a chance to review those, I'll entertain a motion to approve those minutes.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Ned, second by Carl. You guys switched up on me there. Any additional comment or discussion about it? All those in favor of approving those minutes, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, we got a special presentation. Very excited about this. Ava Engel, who's a UNCA McCullough Fellowship for Asheville Buncombe Sustainable Microbrewery Initiative. She's going to give us a report on that. And before she comes up, she's actually Evan's student. So, Evan, you like to say a few words about it?
Yeah, so
Ava.
I think I met Ava, was it fall 2019, your first semester here, and I'm her professor again in her very last semester here. So she's come a long way. She's done a lot of great work on this project, working with Ashley and Betsy and the breweries. And I know that she's excited to tell you about it.
Come on up. We got you up at the podium there.
All right. So my name is Ava Engel, as you just heard. I'm a senior at UNCA, and I spent the last summer doing my undergraduate research project on discovering energy efficiency opportunities in Asheville's craft brewing industry. So why do this research to begin with? Well, the brewing process, the process of brewing beer consumes a lot of energy. Next. So, for example, in the brew house, breweries have to burn natural gas to heat water to generate steam. And once the beer is complete, they have to refrigerate all of their product or it'll go bad. And that takes a lot of electricity. These giant refrigerators. Next. And the result of high energy consumption is high greenhouse gas emissions. So our goal was to discover more ways that brewery can be energy efficient and overall or reduce the overall greenhouse gas emissions in our atmosphere. So who did the research? I was fortunate enough to do my undergraduate research through the McCullough Institute at UNCA. And it's a fellowship program that works with a community partner and a faculty advisor. My community partner was the Asheville Buncombe Air Quality Agency. My faculty advisor was Evan Kuzo. And I was also fortunate enough to have an engineer at Waste Reduction Partners help me very closely on this project. Marshall, he knows a lot about energy efficiency in breweries, thankfully. Okay, next. So what did we do? We used the EPA Energy Stars program. They call it a treasure map, and they designed it specifically for microbreweries to find and identify energy efficient improvements in their facility. And the treasure map is broken into different categories based on different areas in a brewery. Most of the opportunities that we found were in the hot water and steam systems and in the refrigeration area of the breweries that we worked with. We go next. And there's me and Evan doing just that, looking for those opportunities. Okay, next. So where did we do this? Wicked Weed, Cellar Rest, The Rad, and Highwire were the 4 breweries that worked with us. Kind of shows on the map where they all are. Wicked Weed West, their west location in Candler. Cellar Rest, Cellar Rest was in West Asheville, a little bit closer to the center. River Arts District was like right downtown, and Highwire is right near Biltmore Village, near Biltmore Village location. Good night, good next. And the 4 breweries were all various sizes. As you can see on this chart, we have all 4 of the breweries. And the way that we measured their size were based on the barrels that they brewed per year. So as you can see, Wicked Weed was the largest at 105,000. Highwire, second largest, 35,000. And the Rad and Cellar Rest at 300 and 200 barrels per year. And to analyze the results that we found, I broke up the 4 breweries into 2 categories: large size breweries and small size breweries. And so although Wicked Weed and Highwire are in the large size category, Wicked Weed is still way, like, pretty good amount of size bigger than Highwire. So if we had more, then might be large and medium. But anyways, go next. And so here is the first results. Highwire's opportunity to lower their natural gas usage is significant. So this chart shows the large breweries' natural gas usage based on the therms of natural gas they use per barrel they brew. And as you can see, the blue bars are the current natural gas that they use, and the red bars are the natural gas that they would use if they implemented the opportunities that we suggest to them. Okay, next. And here you can see that smaller breweries have a slight opportunity to reduce their natural gas usage. Still opportunity, but not as much as the larger breweries. And this is because most of the opportunities that we found in the larger breweries were in their brew house, where they generate steam with natural gas, and most of the opportunities that we found in the smaller breweries were in their refrigeration using electricity. Okay, next. Okay, and then here is a table that shows all of the, did not transfer right, but all 4 of the breweries' natural gas opportunities. And so the first column is their current natural gas usage in therms. That is not even showing all 4 of them. I'm sorry. I think it was just how Google Slides transferred to PowerPoint. Yeah, that's exactly what it was. Okay. That's not very good. Well, I'm sorry. And then the second column is the natural gas usage if the breweries implemented the opportunities that we suggest. The third column is the difference in current and if they were to implement. And then the last column is the pounds of CO2 that would be avoided annually if they implemented all of the opportunities that we suggest. We're really just missing the red.
So question, you can calculate the CO2 avoided by the natural gas saves and therms. There's a calculation involved with that.
Thanks to Waste Reduction Partners. They made that.
Is that right? Okay.
Yeah. Okay, you can go next.
Was the process that different that the Wicked Weed percentage drop was so much less? Is that because they had already optimized their operation, or curious?
Yep. So a year before we did this project, Wicked Weed actually reached out to waste reduction partners for an energy audit to prioritize energy efficiency in their facility. So yeah, so there's not that much of a change found in WikiLead because they have been working on energy efficiency
Good.
previously, which is good. And then as you can see, large breweries have slight opportunity to reduce their electricity usage because, like I said, most of the opportunities were found in their natural gas consumption in their steam systems. And you can go next.
Sorry, I'm helping.
It's fine.
For a reason.
Yeah. And then the small breweries have more of a significant opportunity to reduce their electricity usage because they can improve their refrigeration and other things that takes electricity instead of natural gas. Yeah, next. Yay! Yeah. And then here's their electricity opportunities. So again, first column, current electricity usage, and then the electricity usage if opportunities were implemented, the difference between those two, and how much CO2 in pounds would be avoided if they implemented everything that we suggest. You go next. And so here I put in cost and how much cost they would save in each area of the brewery. And so the blue section is the brew house, red refrigeration, yellow compressed air, green lighting, and then other opportunities miscellaneous. As you can see, Highwire has great opportunity to save in their brew house, mostly because they just need insulation everywhere, all over their steam pipes, steam systems. It would save around $17,000 if they implemented these opportunities. Next. And then small breweries will save the most annual cost by implementing opportunities in the refrigeration area. So previous slide, there was more blue than red in the for the brew house, but as you can see for the smaller breweries, the red is larger, and that's the refrigeration section. Yeah. Okay, so this is the total CO2 reduction is equivalent to 31 cars, but doesn't seem like that much. 31 cars off the road a year, but you have to keep in mind that was 4 breweries that we worked with, and there's 40 in Asheville. So if all of these breweries implemented energy savings opportunities, that might be 10 times the amount of cars off the road. There we go. So next. So to conclude, energy efficiency opportunities were discovered within each brewery that we worked with. Okay, next. The total savings discovered were 309,336 pounds of CO2 saved or avoided per year, and $25,827 that they could save altogether. Participation in this project indicates that Asheville's craft brewing industry prioritizes sustainability, and we discovered in each brewery that they had sustainable efforts in place already, which is good. And implementing energy and efficiency into Asheville's craft brewing industry will help mitigate the effects of climate change. You good last? Thank you.
Good job.
Thanks. Any questions?
So you only looked at energy usage.
Mhm.
And I'm not an expert. I hated chemistry, but when you take grain and sugar and introduce yeast, you produce alcohol and what?
CO2.
Carbon dioxide? I'm
CO2,
just
yeah.
curious.
Yes. Yeah.
What are
So
we talking about in the way of a brewery and what carbon dioxide is lost as opposed to somehow captured or contained?
So the CO2 that I'm referring to is like based on the electricity that they use, that in turn is producing CO2 from a power plant, not from the fermentation process. So Highwire, for example, actually captures their CO2 that is released from the fermentation process, and they return it back to a farm. I know Sierra Nevada uses or captures their CO2, and that's how they carbonate their beer. And so, but the one that I'm referring to is not from the fermentation process.
But
Maybe what you're asking is how does that compare?
Yes,
Oh.
I'm curious that we all enjoy the product. Am I endangering the atmosphere by consuming it?
Yes, but not because of fermentation.
Okay.
A couple of years before Ava, I had students look at that, and what they found was the CO2 that's released during the fermentation process is dwarfed by the fossil CO2 coming from the natural gas and electricity usage. Another reason why the fermentation CO2 isn't all that important is the emissions that Ava is talking about. These are fossil emissions. So this is carbon that's been buried for tens or hundreds of millions of years. The emissions of CO2 that come during the fermentation process, that's been part of the global carbon cycle. So this was a plant pulled carbon dioxide out of the atmosphere, made the grains and the sugars, the carbohydrates. And then during the fermentation process, that CO2 is just being re-released. So on a, 3 to 5 year time scale, it's a net zero process. But the emissions that Ava is talking about, that is not a net zero process. That's carbon that has been out of the global carbon cycle for a long time.
So if we could utilize either biomass or something, that would be a more sustainable model, if you will, for power generation versus utilizing a long buried source of.
It could be. It depends on, if we're cutting down forests just to make the pellets. That's a complicated
That's beyond
calculus.
our pay grade.
But it also might make the agency pretty nervous when you start talking about burning biomass. They've done such a good job cleaning up NOx and PM.
I have a question. Is the cost of implementing your energy savings greater than the savings?
It could be. It could be. Depends. I considered adding that section into my project and analyzing how much implementation cost of these improvements would be and like when they would actually start saving money on utilities based on how much they spent. But that was also above my pay grade.
So kind of a return on investment.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly.
Or payback period.
Mhm.
Some of the opportunities Ava found are a little more complicated, but the one she mentioned at Highwire, just insulating their steam pipes, that's a pretty easy, low cost one. And that's where she found they'll get their most bang for the buck.
Good
Well,
job.
thank you.
Thank you, Ava.
Thank you.
Thanks.
You're welcome to stay for the rest of the meeting or not. Okay, next item, we've got unfinished business today, non-discrimination policy. Ashley.
Okay, this is one that we mentioned at a previous board meeting. It is a requirement of all EPA grantees that we have to comply with Title VI, the Civil Rights Act, and we have some paperwork that we have to sign when we do our grant applications every year. This is something that EPA has been taking a closer look at in the last couple of years, and we need to have a policy that's on our website that covers certain things. And so what we did was went ahead and drafted something that is consistent with the other policies that we've seen for this. And so this is just for the board for consideration. If the board approves this, then we can put it on our website, and I think we'll be meeting the EPA requirements. But part of it is not just having it on the website, obviously, following these requirements, which we do, but having it in writing, having it on the website, having a person designated where somebody can file a complaint with. These are all things that weren't really spelled out before that we needed to do for our grant requirements.
Amy, is this something illegal to take a look at?
I think we should definitely review it. Has it been sent to me and I did not see it, or?
No, it probably went out in the board packet, but I should have, but I haven't actually.
Sure, I'm happy
sent
to.
it to you and that, so.
Okay. We're happy to, of course, to look at it, make sure that all the boxes are checked.
One of the questions I have, and I'm sure it'll come up, is in reading how to file a discrimination complaint, it talks about all this information, but it doesn't talk about how is that information going to be secured, or is it public record? The items they're asking for there would probably cause me to not want to file a complaint, because when it talks about everything you need to document, then I think there needs to be some definition or description of what precautions to protect someone that alleges a complaint. And that's something I'm sure you'll look at when you get into that.
And those are not public records according to North Carolina public record law. So really the issue would not be whether or not it's public record, it would just be how we protect it.
Yes. Who has access to it? And
Well, how about if we keep this on unfinished business and let Amy take a look
I
at
think
it?
so.
Bring it back at the next meeting? Okay. Perfect. All right.
So you're more concerned about how we would handle the information and protect the person's
identity,
information.
yes.
That's mainly what your question is. The other possible question would be, do we need to spell out how we are going to respond to the complaint, what our process is? Okay, thanks.
All right, we'll move on to item 6, director's report. And we have 5 items there. I'll turn it over to Ashley again.
Okay, let's, first item, thanks, Joel, is the FY 23 end of year budget update. A little bit of a repetition from the board retreat. There is a sheet in the board packet here that's a summary, and it just shows the FY 21, it does go back to 21 actuals, 22 actuals, and then 23 is the update really. And so you can see there, it's showing that we put that $8,000 back in the fund balance, and that's how we ended out the year. The second page has a lot more details as far as where these numbers came from. We did talk about that a little bit about salaries and benefits and one-time expenses and things of that nature. So we also sent you guys the Excel spreadsheet. So in case you wanted to look at the more detailed sheet, these numbers do come out of the accounting system. So some of them are kind of copied and pasted in, but I think you can see the formulas on that second sheet. If you're interested, is there anybody have any questions?
It almost makes me think we should have more years like 2021, but then I remember what 2021 actually was like in the real world, so.
July 21, we only had 5 people, so that was very challenging here. And that's part of the reason that we were able to put the money back in the fund balance that year. And thanks to Betsy for putting all this together for us.
Yeah, what are we gonna do when you retire, Betsy?
I don't know. Pardon?
Maybe so.
But she could.
We'll have to have one of those.
Okay, so if there's not any questions about that, the next item was just ITGC request submitted to county. We pretty much discussed that in detail in the retreat. Any IT projects that cost more than $10,000, they're required to go through this process where they get reviewed and they go through certain procedures. It's sort of a long-term planning process on the part of the county. And so we did submit the one last year, but we were told that since we're not a county department, we're an independent agency, that they pretty much tabled our request. So the difference is that this year we had to put in for it because it's following the proper procedure for projects of this size. But we had to specify that we do intend to pay for this out of our fund balance, and we're not asking them for any of the funding for the project. And we also let them know that we would probably spread this out over time because it's significant. So we're kicking off that process again. We've had another meeting, and we're working on trying to get phase 1, get our plan written in writing, get it approved so that we can get some firm estimates and look into some of these different options, getting the work done like we talked about.
Any questions?
Okay, the next item is, it's the EPA State Review Framework Audit. And I don't have a handout for this, but basically this is, part of our compliance monitoring agreement with EPA, where with our Title V and synthetic minor facilities, those are the federally enforceable ones. We have enforcement agreements where, frequency, compliance inspections, how we are going to implement the rules. Essentially, there's a database, national database of record, where we enter the data so that the public can go on and see where the facilities are, if they're in compliance, if there's a compliance issue. We report when we review a stack test results, we report results of the compliance inspections, any significant violations, things of that nature. And so they come in every few years and go through a very detailed, thorough audit of our files. So we've just undergone one of those, and it's pretty lengthy. Not having an electronic file management system made it a little more difficult, because some of the stuff we had electronically and some of it we had to be in the office and scan and clear things. So all in all, we did pretty well as far as, we are implementing our requirements. We're getting our inspections done. We're finding violations where we're supposed to. We're addressing them. Some of the shortfalls that we've had where we can get better is timeliness, as far as reporting of the data in the National Database of Record. EPA wants that data put in within 60 days of the occurrence of the inspection or the violation or stack test or things of that nature. That's one of the areas where we're not getting the data. We're getting the data in every year, but not within 60 days. So that was an area for improvement. They also dinged us on some of the write-ups for the inspections. The inspector wrote up the inspection properly, but then upper management was reviewing it, sat for a while, and it should have been either. They don't really have guidelines for that, so it's kind of but it was another thing that they pointed out. So we're working through the process. Other things that they look at are all of the different air programs that the facility is subject. That has to go into the database of record. Sometimes facilities change and they're no longer subject to certain rules, and then we have to go in and take those out. So there's always things like that that could be updated more frequently. So we're working on correcting things and putting more systems in place just to checks and balances, get things more promptly. And I think all in all, we did a good job, but there's always room for improvement. So that's been a significant amount of time that we spent on that. We had about 18 facilities, 18-year facilities. And each of the 18, there was about 10 or so files, that had to be compiled and submitted. So it's a lot of work.
How often does this come up?
Last one was 2017. This was 2013. So
Technically, should be every 5 years.
it should be every 5 years. I think. All in all, it wasn't too bad, but we're working on that. We have to respond to EPA to their findings by Friday, which is a holiday. So we're going to be busy with that tomorrow. Work to do on that. And that, I'll turn it over to James for the monitoring update. Kevin is on vacation.
Actually, I did remember. I gotta remember to put my mic on to actually do this. So, that's good. Let's see if I can pull this up here. One thing that has been a concern, obviously, the last week, everybody's known about our fires. I'm just kind of wanting to just show again the fire and smoke map from EPA is a great resource and tool that can be used during this time because, our spatial monitors are only located we have one monitor, across the river here at the Board of Education. The next closest PM monitor the state runs, I believe, is Bryson City. So spatially, if there's a fire between us and Bryson City, you're not going to see it. For instance, our PM monitor over the last few days never got below a mid yellow, the AQI yellow being, marginally unsafe, but yellow's, is still not horrible air quality. We never got worse than yellow at our monitor, but of course there were localized places. If you were close to a fire, it would have been a lot worse. You can see on this map, there's some squares. Those squares I'll pull up Asheville to kind of get it bigger up there, are purple air monitors. Those are located at people's homes. The EPA has worked with Purple Air to take the data on these and to apply a kind of a fudge factor or an EPA factor to try to normalize that data from these much more less expensive sensors to have that data at least kind of, get closer to the gold standard EPA data. And really, they're wanting to use it for this very particular purpose where you have fires. I looked at this map and I was like, we could possibly, a nice project would be to maybe try to get more of these purple airs out there that would be part of this fire network. But through this, I was looking at some you can see right up here in the Great Smoky Mountains. We've got one. This is a purple air that's showing red where we might not know what's going on there. And I did look during the fires. There was a purple air in Franklin that got red and purple AQIs, which are, unhealthy for everyone. And, this is just a great tool to use. So I just kind of wanted to show that off. And other than that, let me see. Ozone season ended on Halloween. Spooky season is over. Our fourth highest, that's the standard they use for ozone is, overall standard is 70 parts per billion. EPA says take your fourth highest, average your fourth highest over 3 years, and that's how you get your what they call design value. That's your value saying, are we in compliance or not with the national ambient air quality standards? Well, our fourth highest this year was 63. Our projected design value over next year when they add those 3 years together will be 61. So that's well below the 70. Our design value this past year is 58, but that's because 2020 we had really low air quality, and that number starts dropping off, and our averages for some of our stuff start creeping up. So it kind of looks bad, but it really is just this 1 year that was abnormal dropping off to where it shows kind of a more normal situation. So that's pretty much it for ozone. We had our data complete. This was 99%, 99.3% for the entire year. PM monitoring also doing well for our requirement of data completeness at 97.2%. So far, our annual average is 6.8. The standard is 12.0. That one's a little more, 98th? No, that's an actual annual standard. That's actually a lot easier when it's an annual standard. That's the annual standard. So our average annual 6.8, well below the 12.0 standard. At 12.0, I don't know if it may have been discussed in a previous one, is going to drop. We don't know if it's going to drop to 10, 9, or even 8, possibly, I believe. But 10 or 9 is probably the most likely number that's going to drop to. But we thankfully are pretty far below that. We do have a 24-hour standard, which we got a little close to exceeding one time this year earlier with the Canadian wildfires. We actually had worse air quality from Canada than we had for our local ones, but that's again just our monitor. But still, overall, that's where they take the 90th percentile. 98th percentile. That 24-hour standard is 35, and we're at 23 this year. And our design value for that is going to probably be 18 when it's all said and done, so well below the 35. We've been measuring PM10 for the last few months since July. That is a 24-hour average of 150, and I mean, we're at 12.9. Okay, we don't have to worry about our NACs with PM10. That's not a surprise. No one in the Southeast. I mean, I'm not sure if there are too many places in the country that are having to worry about PM10 in regards to being able to attain that standard. And lastly, I think we've gotten all our equipment from all of the grants. All of our equipment's been ordered except for our nasal ranger, which is we're real excited for that, right, Betsy? That's going to be our thing to help us with odor complaints. So when we have that, maybe we'll come out and do a demonstration for you guys. It'll be real fun. So Other than that, we got everything else. We got our flow devices came a few weeks ago. I think that was the last other piece of equipment we were waiting to get in, and we tested those out a couple weeks ago. They're fine. So that's about it.
Thanks, James. I think the purple air data on the EPA air now fire and smoke map is really helpful because we just get so much more coverage than we do with just the regulatory monitors. I've also been telling people that if you look and you see yellow as the nearest monitor to you, but you smell smoke, then assume that you are code orange because typically you're not going to smell smoke until you're code orange. Unless you are code orange, so plan accordingly. And I'm just wondering, Evan, when you get your purple layers deployed as part of your study, they will show up on the air. That will increase what's showing up.
It should. We are going to connect them to the internet, and I think EPA gets the data from the purple air servers and will be reporting to the purple air servers. I don't know if there's a long delay or not, but yeah, we will be. We'll be on the map. The UNCA one is on the map right now.
Yeah, that's just, I mean, and you can also go to all of these purple airs and pull up a week's data through the fire map as well. You kind of see here where they're definitely were affected by the fire a couple times over the last couple days. So anyway.
So the next item is the facility permit renewal. We just have one. It's a small source, Asheville Mortuary Services. Their permit is up for renewal.
I had one question for Alex. Alex, you did the inspection report. What's the difference between an obstructed stack and an unobstructed stack?
I'm not entirely sure. That comes from the actual toxics regulations. And so that is pulled from facility applications and the facilities permit review that we know that they have the unobstructed stack.
Okay.
Yeah, I can confirm that there's different unobstructed. An obstructed stack is something like a rain cap or something like that. If a stack has a rain cap, it doesn't allow that air to come up. So the allowances for toxics are different than versus a stack that's unimpeded, and the air can go up because you have better flow and better distribution.
Yeah, this report showed stated that they were within.
There's not, so I guess there's specific requirements when you have to have a rain cap and when you don't have to have a rain cap.
I mean, the requirement, from our point of view, it doesn't matter. It's just if you have a rain cap, there's the toxics levels for whether or not you need to start modeling are different. There's a certain level of a toxics. When you reach that level, it's like, okay, we have to prove, whether if you reach a certain level over time, it's like, oh, okay, now we might have to do some modeling to show that it's the state has these levels. It's just basically levels to assure that the permittee or somebody trying to get a permit be like, we don't need to do any modeling. We don't need to do anything else. We're below these acceptable levels. But those acceptable levels are different if you have an open stack versus a stack that's.
Got a comment on this. After reading it and listening to our discussion last hour, I get the feeling that if we weren't around, they would have done a whole lot less.
Right. The problem is that when there's smoke events from crematories, it's normal that now and then they're going to have those. It's out of their control. But they have excess emissions, but only for so long, not more than 2 6-minute periods in any 1 hour. It's a big long list. What happens is when something happens, by the time we jump in the car and go over there, it's not happening. Even when it happens when you're there, it usually only lasts for a couple minutes. It's almost impossible to get a physical emissions violation. When it becomes a problem in the facility, if we go out numerous times, we find that there is a maintenance issue. They just need to show that they're addressing it and address it properly to minimize emissions in a reasonable amount of time.
Yeah, but I just have the feeling that if you had not been out there, they would still be addressing the issues.
I think so. I mean, I think they're good guys and they're just struggling with the manufacturer of this one machine. They were having a hard time to get them to come up in Florida to address it. So we kept calling them and saying, hey, we keep getting complaints, you know, we keep coming out. We thought we had the situation resolved. And they were working on it and we would go back out and watch another event, and then it was fine. And then they acknowledged that, you know what we did couldn't fix it. We're still working on it. So it went on for a long time, and we did issue violation for not getting it addressed in a timely manner, but they have addressed it now. And
Well, I'll move that we approve the permit.
Okay. Here a second.
Second.
Second by Carl. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of approving the permit for Asheville Mortuary LLC, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Passes unanimously. Okay. Thank you, Ashley. So now we're down to new business, which we have none. We certainly talked a lot during the retreat about some new things that are coming up. Other business, Amy, legal counsel report.
At the last meeting, we touched upon briefly efforts to collect and enforce violations. We don't have a specific plan or an execution plan for that yet. However, Ashley and I, everybody legal as well as other engaged departments, looking at, because typically the people who have air quality issues have other issues. So we're looking at a more holistic approach to dealing with these persons. There are some challenges to a lot of these. For example, some of the offenders, for lack of a better word, we're having trouble deciding who would be cited because sometimes there's a transient population. So really what we're looking for has less to do with collecting on the violations and more to do with just stopping the behavior. But like I said, it would take several departments, so we continue to work on that. But beyond that, there's not any specific legal issues to report on.
So you'll just keep us posted on how that goes. Okay. Thanks. I have an advisory committee report.
Yeah, so our last meeting, we didn't have a quorum. It was Keith and me, and then Ashley and Kevin and Betsy and James were there from the agency. We talked a bit about the community shelter. Again, we would just tweak some language, mostly around the how the agency will collect data from people that are putting their sensors in the shelter. And I think we got all that finalized. There was potentially this opportunity with students at Nesbitt at the high school there to create an informational sign for the shelter. And I gave a couple updates on projects I have going on. So one of them was Ava's project, but you heard about that straight from the source. There is a project, I built low-cost sensors out of a Raspberry Pi platform. I deployed those with students last Friday. We have one at every Asheville City School campus. They're going to be collecting measurements continuously until the end of the month. And then we're going to collect the data. We also put one at the shelter, the sensor shelter. James let us in there so we can get, we've got one co-located. So we'll know if these sensors are reliably reporting PM 2.5. Then there is the Purple Air project. And we are still looking for places, host sites for these. I've been pretty busy, so I haven't made much progress there, but my students are starting to analyze the data from the summer. So we can identify the purple airs that we trust, and those are the ones that we'll deploy across the city or the county. And then Ashley gave us some updates on EPA grants and some neat stuff. You want to give a quick summary of those? You could do a better job than I could.
Okay, the Clean School Bus Project, Buncombe County Schools they did apply, I think I may have reported, I can't remember if I reported that last time, but they did apply for replacing 5 older diesel school buses with 5 electric school buses. They have not heard back yet. EPA is supposed to make their announcement between November and January. I did do an update for the Commissioner Subcommittee on Energy and the Environment. They were very interested in that. We're trying to get another meeting set up with the schools and Duke Energy and sustainability and clean cities to help keep supporting that effort. So that's exciting. And the EPA's climate pollution reduction grants, those are the ones that are coming out. Implementation grants are actually available now into next year. And we worked on a project with sustainability for some heating upgrade program. So Asheville Buncombe electrification project is something that the Buncombe County Sustainability Department is working on. And so we came up with an idea for them for funding, which would be replacing older combustion source heaters in lower income homes with the new heat pumps. And also wood stoves. We've always wanted to do a wood stove change out program. So we worked with sustainability and submitted that to the state Department of Air Quality so that they could consider that if they're doing their climate pollution reduction action plan EPA. And that way we would be eligible to apply for funding if that type of project is covered. So that's pretty exciting. It sounded like Betsy sat in on the State Energy Office presentation, and they're definitely interested in the electrification projects. I'm trying to help lower income households participate since the rebates and tax credits won't help them as much. So that was exciting. Is that it?
That's it. We're not meeting in December because of holiday travel and various things. We'll pick up again in February with the committee.
Okay, any questions for Evan or Ashley? Okay, we're gonna make it by 5. This is our last meeting in 2023, so it's time to figure out when we're gonna meet in 2024. And typically try to do a regular, we meet every other month, January, March, May, July, September, November. Evan, you're the one that tends to be the driver on what day of the week and maybe the week of the month. What are you thinking for 24?
Tuesdays and Thursdays work for me.
Okay. Anybody else have any input? Gary, Ned?
The only thing is I'm gonna be gone the 12th to the 27th of January.
Okay. And I'm gonna be gone in there too, 8th through possibly the first of the next week. And you're gonna be gone when?
The 12th to the 27th.
Okay.
We'll miss you.
I'm like,
I hate to try to push it to the first part of January because that's everybody's kind of right after the holidays.
What about the 11th? That's Thursday, January 11th.
I'll be gone then. Yeah.
I may be in Raleigh.
Are we allowed to do Zoom meetings like we did during the pandemic?
No, unfortunately, we're not. Their legal is still recommending we have at least 3, at least a quorum in person, and then others can be on Zoom, but unless we change the bylaws or.
Yeah, but if we had a quorum, someone could attend by Zoom.
Yeah.
I mean, that can happen.
Sounds like January is gonna be a difficult month. Let's just talk about it in general. What first or second week of the month, and maybe a Tuesday or Thursday. You don't want to make a call on that first, and then we can maybe adjust January.
You want to make it the first week of the month?
Usually it's second.
Okay.
Okay.
But I know that's.
That works fine, too.
The 9th, maybe? General, we're talking about it in general, and then we'll talk about January.
Yeah. I mean, is the first or second week of the month better for the staff?
In general, second.
The second, it's okay. So let's do Tuesday, second week of the month. On those months that we meet. And then in January, not sure what to do. You're gonna be gone when, Gary?
12th to the 27th. of January.
Maybe push it to towards the end of January.
And if you tackle without, as long as you have a quorum, you know, you could.
Yeah, and then, you know, I mean, Carl can chair the meeting in my absence too. That's-
When are you going?
Right now, it's looking like the 8th through the 17th.
Actually, is Tuesday gonna work for you, those board of commissioners?
Yes, but what about you? I know that there's a reason I wish you would that.
Well, he has to go. I don't have to go unless I,
I usually don't have to go unless we have something. But we could have a, not the second, or Tuesday, or the
30.
That sounds right.
yes.
Well, maybe we ought to do Thursday. We could offer the commissioners.
That would probably be better.
I think it would too. So let's do, amend that. Let's try the second week, the Thursday of the month that we meet. Let's do that. And then as far as January goes, give me, I don't know, push it back to the 19th maybe. Could certainly meet then.
That's a Friday.
Oh, I'm sorry, I'm looking at the wrong year.
What
The
about
18th
25th?
or 25th.
Here it
You're not gonna get me to sound like, you're gonna be gone the week before I leave.
Right.
So we need to have it when you're here, so.
Let's, would the 25th be okay with everybody? Let's do that. That would be the only departure from the normal second Thursday of the month,
Let's go 4 to
or
5.
second week, the Thursday. The 25th would be the next time we meet in January, and then we'd follow that regular schedule, but second week on a Thursday. That work for everybody?
Let's go 4 to 5 o'clock.
Yeah, 4 to 5 o'clock. Yeah, same as we normally do. So if that's agreeable to everybody, I'll entertain a motion to set that as our 2024 agenda.
So moved.
Carl. Second by Gary. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. I got a calendar, and our next meeting is the 25th of January, 2024. We're down to any announcements that,
And then after that, it's gonna be on the second Thursday, is that correct?
was the second week of the month, that Thursday.
Okay. Yeah.
So the
Okay.
next, for example,
Thursday of the second week of the month.
correct.
Okay.
So,
We'll send out a calendar.
so does that mean March 14th? Or does that mean March 7th?
That would be March 14th.
That's the better, I think.
That's a better way to say it. The second Thursday of the month that we meet. All right, any announcements by board members? Or Ashley?
I have one, or two. We did, October was Children's Health Month, so we did a news story. It's on our website. And also the Asheville Holiday Parade is coming up on November 18th. And the Clean City, the Clean Vehicles Coalition is going to be having a float again. If anyone wants to come, we're going to have a Ford Lightning, the electric one, and the propane trolley, and something else fun. And we need people to come and join the fun and ride the trolley and all kinds of fun stuff. So yeah,
And that date is what?
November 18th is a Saturday. The parade is from 11 to 1. And you don't have to, if you're not driving, you're just riding or walking, you don't have to be there till 10 or so. Lots of fun.
Haven't seen a thing about the Asheville parade this year.
They kind of get started late. They just sent out the information the last week or two, so we're just now getting our march. We had some students from UNCA last year that came, the ones that built the electric race car, and they were a huge help. So I need to reach out to them and see if we can get them to come last year. That's all.
Anybody else? I'd like to give a shout out again to staff for helping us with this retreat. We obviously have a lot of extra food,
Thank you
so
very much.
please take some home with you.
There's to-go containers back under the table, so please, like.
Okay, and I don't think we have any public comment. Maybe do you mind going over there and see if anybody signed up? Just the seat, I'm sure it's fine. Thanks. I'm glad you stayed. Okay,
Move to adjourn.
move to adjourn.
Second.
Second by, I guess I'll give it to Ed, the next. We're adjourned.
Aye.